She doesn't want a man who grabs her. She wants a man whose energy grabs her attention without lifting a finger. It's not about the touch. It's about the presence before the touch. Before she even feels your hands, she has to feel your energy. And that is the game most men never learn to play. This video is not about manipulation. It's not about acting cool or copying lines. It's about something far more powerful: energetic presence. It's about developing such deep internal control that a woman feels something shift the moment you walk into a room. You won't need to speak first. You won't need to touch. She will feel drawn to you before you move. And in a world of men who chase, this ability makes you unforgettable. Support this channel if you're ready to become that kind of man. Because the more we grow, the more men we help reclaim their quiet strength. Your support doesn't just help me. It helps every man out there who's been taught that begging for attention is the only way to feel desired. Let's change that story together. Number 1. Focused gaze, unfocused intent. Don't look to get, look to feel. Your eyes are the first thing a woman feels before you even speak. They tell her everything: what you want, how grounded you are, how secure you are in yourself. Most men get this wrong. They use their gaze to seek, not to see. They look at women trying to get something: approval, attention, a smile, or even just acknowledgement. But women feel that energy immediately. They may not say anything. They might even smile back out of politeness. But internally, they already categorized you. And unfortunately, not as the one she desires, but as the one she has power over. True attraction begins in your eyes, but only when they're connected to your center, not your craving. A man who looks at a woman without needing anything from her radiates something completely different. He doesn't look to impress. He doesn't scan her for validation. He simply notices her. His presence enters the room before his words do. His eyes are calm, not hungry, focused, but not demanding. He makes eye contact like a man who is fully satisfied within himself. That's the kind of gaze that creates tension, the healthy kind that sparks something inside her. There's a simple truth about women. They read eyes better than words. Your mouth can say you're confident, but your gaze reveals if you're lying. And most men are. They talk big, they try to act bold, but when they look at her, their eyes scream insecurity. They're hoping for something. They're projecting need. They're chasing approval. And that kills attraction instantly, no matter how good they look or how smooth they sound. Instead, train yourself to observe her like you observe nature. Not like a hunter, but like someone who understands beauty without having to possess it. Look at her as a human being, not a target. When your eyes don't try to pull her in, but simply hold her with awareness, you create space for her to lean into. That space is where attraction grows. It's quiet, it's subtle, but it's powerful. If you want to practice this, start alone. Practice gazing in the mirror, not to pose or look tough, but to become familiar with your own stillness. Then practice with strangers, not by staring, but by holding eye contact for a few seconds with people you pass. Notice what it feels like to hold that calm, to not break first, to remain present without needing a response. Then bring it into your real interactions. When you see a woman you find attractive, don't rush to smile. Don't break eye contact. Don't look away like you got caught. Let her feel you observing, not judging, not chasing, just seeing her. And when she feels that presence in your gaze, something will shift. Her body may adjust, her breath may change. She'll look away, then back again. That's when you know she feels the pull. Not because you said anything, not because you touched her, but because your energy led the moment without asking for anything in return. This is the gaze of a man who doesn't need her, yet still draws her in. That's what makes it powerful. You're not looking to get, you're looking to feel, to experience the moment, to hold stillness in your eyes and let that speak louder than any line could. When you stop using your gaze to hunt and start using it to hold, you stop being just another guy trying his luck. You become the man she can't stop thinking about, and she won't even know why. Number 2, seducer's frame. Hold the fantasy, let her fill the gap. One of the greatest mistakes men make when trying to create desire is giving everything away too soon. They explain too much. They confess their feelings too early. They show all their interest right away. And in doing so, they remove the most seductive element of all: mystery. What you must understand is that desire isn't built by what you give. It's built by what you hold back. The most powerful men don't fill in all the blanks. They let her imagination do the work. A woman doesn't fall in love with your words. She falls in love with the feeling she gets in your presence. And most of that feeling comes from the space you leave open, not from the story you try to force. If she knows everything about you in the first 10 minutes, there's no tension, no unknown, no questions to pull her curiosity forward. But if you say less, if you hold back your conclusions, if you let the silence breathe, her mind starts working. She starts filling in the gaps, and whatever she imagines in those gaps is always more powerful than anything you could say. That's the seducer's frame. You don't rush the moment. You don't try to close the deal. You let the moment stretch. You make her feel seen without rushing to be understood. You offer presence, not pressure. And you never explain yourself more than is necessary, because explanation kills mystery. The more she has to figure you out, the more her interest grows. Not because you're trying to confuse her, but because you're not trying at all. You're simply being. This doesn't mean you become vague or play games. It means you slow down the interaction. You let tension build. You don't interrupt the moment with your ego. When she asks a personal question, you don't have to give a full autobiography. You can smile, nod, and redirect with calm intrigue. That calmness tells her, I am not here to prove anything. I am here to experience everything. And that is what pulls her in deeper. The most desired men are not the ones who try the hardest. They are the ones who create the most emotional space. And in that space, the woman starts to invest. She leans forward. She initiates questions. She revisits moments in her mind later. All because you didn't try to force desire. You allowed it to grow. To apply this in real life, start by resisting the urge to explain yourself in detail. When you talk to a woman, focus less on impressing and more on impacting. Speak less, but with depth. Ask questions, but don't chase answers. Let her talk while you listen with stillness. And when you do speak, let it be thoughtful. Let it hint at something she can feel but not fully grasp. That's where the real tension lives. The seducer's frame is about restraint. It's about presence. It's about allowing the fantasy to unfold without controlling it. Because a man who can hold emotional space without rushing it creates something rare. A craving not built on what he gives, but on what he makes her feel without saying a word. That's the power of letting her imagination complete the story. And when a woman is the one doing the imagining, the craving becomes hers, not yours. Number 3, energetic projection. Let your body language speak volumes. Before you speak a single word, your body has already said everything. Most men don't realize that their posture, movement, and stillness are constantly broadcasting signals. And the reason so many men get overlooked isn't because they don't look good. It's because they don't know how to manage their energetic projection. They may stand tall but feel small. They may smile, but their energy still asks for approval. That's what women feel, and that's why they stay emotionally detached. Energetic projection isn't about being loud or taking up space aggressively. It's about intentional presence. It's the way you stand when you walk into a room, the way you breathe when she looks at you, the way you hold yourself when no one is watching. Energy doesn't lie. And the man who knows how to project calm power becomes the one everyone remembers, even if he barely speaks. Your posture must say, "I belong here." Not in a showy way, but in a quiet, grounded one. Shoulders relaxed, back straight, chin slightly lifted, not to appear arrogant, but to remain open. This posture tells her something without words. You're safe, you're stable, you're anchored. You don't lean into her space to seek permission. You allow her to come closer naturally, without force. That's the difference between dominance and invitation. Movement also matters. Fast, jittery movements reveal inner chaos, constant fidgeting, shifting, checking your phone. These all signal nervous energy. And nervous energy kills attraction. On the other hand, slow, deliberate movements signal control. They tell her your world moves at your pace, that you're not rushed, not desperate, not seeking validation. You're rooted. Even your breath plays a role. A man who breathes deeply and calmly under pressure communicates emotional strength. Shallow, rapid breathing shows anxiety. And women pick up on that more than they consciously realize. When you exhale slowly, pause intentionally, and move with presence, you send a message. I am in control of my space, my time, and my energy. When you project this kind of energy, people start treating you differently. Not because you're pretending, but because they're responding to your authentic inner calm. Women begin to feel safe around you, not because you said the right thing, but because your presence created safety. And from safety comes trust. From trust comes desire. To develop this, start practicing awareness. How do you walk into a room? How do you sit when no one's looking? What does your energy feel like when you're not talking? Adjust these subtle things. Stand with calm. Speak with weight. Move like every action has a reason, even if it's just to be still. Your energy must speak before your words do. Because once she feels that stillness, that quiet fire, that invisible confidence, you won't have to say much. She'll already feel it. She'll already be curious. And curiosity, when sparked by energy, is far more powerful than anything you could ever say with your mouth. When your body leads, your words don't need to chase. They simply reinforce what she already feels, that you are the man who doesn't try, yet still pulls everything toward him. Number 4, vocal seduction. How to lower your voice and raise her pulse. Your voice is one of the most underused tools in attraction. Most men focus on what to say, but few ever consider how they say it. Yet women don't just hear your words, they feel them. They don't remember the line, they remember the vibration, the tone, the rhythm, the pauses. And if your voice doesn't carry emotional weight, it won't move her. Not mentally, and definitely not physically. A woman's nervous system is highly responsive to vocal energy. The deeper and calmer your tone, the more it signals to her that you are relaxed, safe, confident. Not just intellectually, but biologically. A grounded voice affects her emotionally, and when done right, it makes her body respond before she even understands why. But what do most men do? They speak fast, they raise their pitch, they try to sound excited or overly expressive. This sends the opposite message. It screams insecurity. It shows you're performing, not being. And the moment she feels that performance, the tension dies. She no longer feels your presence. She just hears noise. A seductive voice doesn't have to be fake or forced. You don't need to become a radio announcer or whisper awkwardly. You simply need to slow down, speak with intention, lower your pitch, not to impress her, but to ground yourself. Because when you are calm, your voice naturally reflects it. And when she hears that calm, she leans in. Use your breath wisely. Breathe from your belly, not your chest. Let your voice flow on the exhale. Don't rush to fill silence. Let pauses stretch a little longer than usual. These small changes tell her, this man isn't in a hurry. He's present, he's focused, he's confident in the moment. And when you speak, speak with depth. Not just about deep topics, but with emotional weight. Don't mumble, don't trail off. End your sentences with clarity and purpose. Women are drawn to men who sound like they mean what they say. Not because they're loud, but because there's certainty in their tone. This also means not over-talking. The man who always needs to fill the silence is trying to control the interaction. The man who's comfortable letting things breathe is in control of himself. That's powerful. That's attractive. When your voice becomes an extension of your presence, it starts doing the work for you. It lowers her defenses. It creates space for imagination. It builds emotional intimacy, even in casual conversations. To practice, record your voice. Slow down. Speak as if every word has meaning. Not because you're trying to sound important, but because your energy is rooted. And when you talk to women, pay attention to her reaction. Watch how her body shifts, how her eyes soften, how she starts listening, not just to your words, but to your energy. Your voice should be a safe place, a slow rhythm, a low flame, something she wants to get closer to. And when you master this, you'll never need to raise your voice to be heard. You'll speak softly, and still she'll feel every word. That's vocal seduction. That's how you raise her pulse, without ever raising your tone. Number 5. Controlled vibe, how your nervous system seduces hers. There is something invisible about a man's presence that a woman can feel instantly. It's not in his looks, his words, or even his posture. It's in his vibe. And that vibe isn't a mood you put on. It's a direct reflection of the state of your nervous system. If your internal world is chaotic, anxious, or needy, she will feel it the second you stand near her. Even if your words are smooth, even if your body looks confident, she won't feel safe. And when a woman doesn't feel safe, she cannot feel desire. Your vibe is the sum of your inner emotional stability. When you enter a room, your energy either calms others, or it adds to the noise. If you're tense, she'll tense. If you're overeager, she'll feel pressure. But if your nervous system is grounded, if your breathing is steady, your heart is calm, and your movements are deliberate, her body will respond without needing permission. Her energy mirrors yours, always. What most men don't realize is that women are not only listening with their ears, they're feeling with their entire bodies. And your nervous system, whether regulated or agitated, is constantly broadcasting signals. It's like a frequency, a signal, and hers is tuned to pick up on it, even subconsciously. This is why you can say the same thing with a different internal state and get completely different results. A man with a calm nervous system doesn't flinch. He doesn't rush to speak or explain. He doesn't panic when silence falls. He holds space. He breathes through tension. He doesn't need to win her over because he already trusts himself. That self-trust becomes a vibration, and that vibration tells her, I am not here to take anything. I am whole already, and ironically, that's what draws her in. To develop this, start with the breath. Your breathing is the fastest way to regulate your nervous system. Deep, slow breaths signal to your body that there is no threat, and that message becomes your presence. Throughout the day, check in with yourself. Are your shoulders tight? Is your chest tense? Are you shallow breathing without realizing it? Release. Relax. Reset. Next, learn to stay grounded in social situations. Instead of mentally racing, slow your thoughts. Focus on sensation, what you feel in your feet, your spine, your hands. The more rooted you are in your body, the less reactive your energy becomes. And the less reactive you are, the more magnetic your vibe becomes. This is what most women mean when they say, "He had a strong presence." It's not about muscles or money, it's about emotional weight. She felt his calm. She felt his certainty. She felt safe enough to let her guard down, not because he forced it, but because his nervous system invited it. And when she's around a man like that, her body begins to relax. Her walls begin to soften. Her emotional defenses begin to drop. Not because he said the right thing, but because he felt like the right place. That's what real attraction is built on. Not stimulation, but stillness. If you want to seduce her without touch, start with your own state. Be the calm in the storm. Be the one man who doesn't fidget, who doesn't overtalk, who doesn't react. Just be grounded. Let your nervous system do the work. And you'll notice something powerful. When you stop trying to create tension, you become the source of it. That's how your vibe seduces hers, without games, without noise, and without ever laying a finger. Number 6, the energy equation. Less input, more effect. Most men try to impress women by doing too much, talking too much, moving too fast, over-explaining, over-giving, overthinking. But true seduction doesn't work that way. It doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing less, with far more intention. The man who understands this creates maximum emotional impact with minimum physical effort. This is the energy equation. Less input, more effect. Think of energy like a currency. Every time you speak, move, or react, you're spending it. The more you spend without purpose, the less powerful it becomes. But when you hold your energy close, speak less, move slower, react less, you build tension. And that tension becomes presence. That presence becomes influence. That influence becomes desire. Not because you chased her, but because you made her feel something with almost nothing. Women feel the weight of your energy most when you're not trying to use it, when you're not pouring it all out, hoping she notices. When you can sit across from her and let the space between you breathe. That calm stillness makes her nervous, in the best way. She starts leaning in, asking questions, searching for your emotional availability, and every second you don't rush in with answers, you increase your effect. But most men are addicted to output. They think more equals better. If she doesn't laugh, they tell another joke. If she doesn't respond, they text again. If she doesn't engage, they start trying harder. This is energy leakage. It signals insecurity. And instead of drawing her in, it pushes her away. Because attraction doesn't live in effort. It lives in restraint. The men who seduce without touch understand that stillness speaks louder than performance. They don't interrupt silence. They don't fill space with noise. They don't force momentum. They allow the moment to unfold. And that patience becomes presence. And that presence makes her imagination wake up. It's not about being cold or indifferent. It's about being self-contained. You hold your energy the same way you hold your breath underwater, controlled, centered, waiting for the right moment to rise. That tension is what builds anticipation. That anticipation is what makes her think about you when you're not around. Not because of what you did, but because of how you didn't do too much. To practice this, start in every interaction, not just with women. Be conscious of your output. When you speak, ask yourself, am I saying this to connect or to fill space? When you move, ask, is this movement necessary or am I reacting? When you want to reach out, ask, is it coming from strength or from fear of being forgotten? Pull back, stay still, say less, and watch how much more they feel. You'll start to notice that people lean into your silence. They respect your pace. They wait for your input, not because you're withholding, but because your energy has weight. You've stopped giving it away for free. This is the energy equation. It flips the script. It removes pressure. It builds polarity. And it forces her to feel something without knowing why. Because the less you push, the more she pulls. The less you say, the more she listens. The less you give, the more she wonders. That wonder becomes interest. That interest becomes tension. That tension becomes desire. And it all started because you understood. The man who does the most often gets the least. But the man who knows how to do just enough, at the right time, in the right way, becomes unforgettable. Number 7. Presence is the portal. Be seen without seeking attention. You don't need to chase attention to be noticed. The most magnetic men are not the loudest in the room. They're not the ones with the biggest stories or the most aggressive moves. They are the men who walk in with calm, who say little, but mean everything. They don't grab attention. They anchor it. And that anchor is presence. Presence isn't just about being physically there. It's about being emotionally and energetically unshakable. When a man is truly present, he doesn't scan the room. He doesn't overthink what to say next. He's not distracted by outcome or approval. He's tuned in to himself, to the space, and to the moment. And that tuning is felt deeply, especially by women. Presence is rare in today's world. Most people are split in 5 directions at once. They're stuck in their heads, on their phones, trapped in their insecurities. So when a woman meets a man who is fully present, who listens without trying to fix, who observes without needing to judge, who responds without rushing, he instantly stands out. Not because he's trying to be different, but because he's actually here. And it's that presence that becomes the portal, the emotional opening through which she begins to feel something that doesn't have a name. A kind of calm alertness, a grounding, a pull. He hasn't touched her. He hasn't even complimented her. But somehow she feels warmer, safer, more open. Not because he took something from her, but because he held space for her without asking anything in return. Presence is power because it creates contrast. In a world of performance, presence is the pause. In a room of reaction, presence is control. In a life full of noise, presence is silence. And that silence doesn't go unnoticed. It echoes. It lingers. It leaves her wondering, who was that, long after you're gone? But here's the key. Presence can't be faked. You can't pretend to be present. You either are or you aren't. That's why developing it requires daily practice. Every time you catch yourself zoning out, bring yourself back. When you talk to someone, give them your full attention, not out of obligation, but because that's who you are. When you walk into a room, slow your breath, soften your gaze, and own the space. Not by force, but by being grounded in yourself. Even in silence, presence speaks. Even without movement, presence moves her. She can feel your centeredness. She can sense your clarity. And without a word, she starts to trust you. Not because you convinced her, but because your energy didn't demand anything from her. Presence is not about seduction. It's about mastery. It's not about tricking her into liking you. It's about being so in control of yourself that others naturally want to be near you. That's the deepest form of attraction. When your stillness says more than your speech, when your attention feels better than her distractions, when your presence becomes the safest place she knows, even if she's only just met you. And that's why presence is the final portal, the gateway to connection, the root of masculine energy, the one trait that can't be taught in words, but can be practiced in life. When you become a man who lives from presence, every room changes when you walk in. Every interaction deepens. Every woman you meet feels something without understanding why. Because true presence doesn't shout, doesn't seek, doesn't chase. It simply is. And that is becomes the place where attraction is born. You don't need to touch her to make her feel you. You don't need to impress her to stay in her mind. When you master your gaze, your voice, your energy, your presence, she'll feel your strength before you speak and crave your silence long after you're gone. That's real power. That's the kind of man she remembers. If this message stirred something in you, if you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting from within, then support this channel. Because the more we grow, the more we help men like you step into this rare, calm power. Together, we're creating a space where presence, not performance, wins. Comment "untouchable" below if you watched to the end. I want to know who's truly ready to live this. And remember, don't just hear this. Practice it. Show up differently. Be still. Be powerful. Be the man she feels before you even move.